Like I hear all these people singing songs about, Jesus is worthy and let's give him highest praise and all this stuff. And coming in on an outsider, I'm like, that's kind of weird. But when I start to experience this unconditional love, and like it doesn't matter if I failed, it doesn't matter, even if I've succeeded, the way that he responds to me is still the same. It's still, David, I love you more than you could ever imagine. And that's been the thing that has like started to penetrate my heart with like, okay, maybe he is actually worthy. Yeah, I grew up in Springfield, Ohio. Both my grandparents both did really great things. And so there was kind of like this just wait to like accomplish and do something great. So I ended up going into engineering and just kind of struggled my way through it. When I graduated, got a job making great money, and I ended up just like getting off work every single day, like kind of reevaluating my life. It was like the most depressed I'd ever been. Through that process, 18 months into my job, I ended up getting addicted to painkillers. It made me feel happy again because I was like so depressed. I eventually come clean to HR. They actually pay for me to go to rehab. I go into rehab for 2 weeks. I end up getting kicked out. I enter into what's called like a manic state. In that crazy state, I went over to my ex-girlfriend's house, broke in, took her dog, and then I went over to my roommate's house. I got in a physical fight with him, and then the cops come, and I wind up in jail. I end up getting pepper sprayed in jail. I try to go and wash it out. I end up using toilet bowl water and just sloshing it all over my face, getting my hair all wet. So it seemed way more embarrassing to call it to God than to call it to my mom. Like I just couldn't do it. But somehow I just did. I audibly called out to God. I said, God, will you help me? He said, I want you to go and look into the fluorescent light in your cell. I said, okay. I just went and looked. He says, I want you to draw your eyes back on. So I put my fingers in my eyes and drew them back on, and then I could see perfectly again. And then I had this thought that says, you're created in my image. Like it just totally filled me with hope. It totally changed my whole attitude. I was being manic before. After that, I just sat down in peace, just wondering like what just happened. After that point in jail, I end up going to court-ordered mental hospital for a month. I go to an outpatient treatment. I get clean. I'm not even thinking about drugs or anything on my plane ride back home. As soon as my plane lands, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna call my drug dealer. That thought, I believe, came from, I hadn't replaced that vacancy in my heart. And sure enough, I just wound right back into addiction. 4 months later, my job catches me snorting a pill out in my car and they fire me. So I just end up moving back in with my mom, and I end up going to church. They invite me to start like playing guitar, and I get kind of wrapped up in this community. And from experiencing unconditional love and this pursuit from community and from God, like I started to believe that maybe God is actually real and that I can actually trust him. Not only does he do this, not only does he pursue me, but he willingly gave his life so that he could be with me forever. Like that's where I'm like, Lord, you are worthy. Like, yes, you are. Like, you're absolutely worthy. And I'm realizing it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with what Jesus did. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the end of the statement. He says he'll be known as faithful and true, and I'm experiencing that to be true. And man, I met my now wife, most beautiful, most amazing human being I've ever met, and then offered a job to work as a worship director full-time. Like, it's my dream. Like, it was always my dream to work in music. Liv and I both serve on the worship team, and we have a young adult group at the Vineyard Church in Sullivan. Like, I'm the most happy I've ever been in my life by a long stretch, and it's all because of what Jesus did.